Ever feel like your brain is working against you? Fear's got you frozen, or you're just pulled in a million directions at once.
Like our brains have a mind of their own sometimes, right?
Totally. But today we're going to try to hack the system a little bit. We're diving deep into the neuroscience of motivation and focus with expert speaker.
We're going to unpack some amazing insights from Dr. Andrew Huberman, that neuroscientist who always blows our minds.
His work is incredible. I always walk away with so many notes. Are you ready to get started with his deep dives?
Absolutely. Let's do it. And you know what I find fascinating about Huberman's work is how he takes these complex ideas and makes them feel so relatable. He really challenges the way we think about things, like the idea that fear is always the enemy of motivation.
Oh, okay, I'm listening. Tell me more about that.
Well, most people, they see fear as this thing to avoid at all costs, right? But Huberman, he says fear and motivation are actually super connected. And it all comes down to this little molecule called dopamine.
Dopamine. Isn't that the feel-good chemical?
Yeah, exactly. But it's not just about pleasure itself. It's about that anticipation, the craving. And get this, that same craving that makes us go after the things we want, it also fuels our fears.
So wait, you're telling me the same thing that makes me crave a big plate of nachos is also behind that panic I feel when I have to give a presentation?
You got it. It's like, imagine a little mouse that's crazy for sugar water. It'll do anything to get that reward. But if you take away its dopamine, it won't even budge, even though it still enjoys the sugar water. So dopamine is like that engine, the thing that gets us moving, whether it's towards something we want or away from something we fear.
Wow, that's wild. So how do we actually use that to, I don't know, maybe finally finish that project we've been putting off, or just stop procrastinating so much?
Well, Huberman, he suggests we try visualizing our fears. Instead of running away, he says we should kind of sit with them, figure them out. He even talks about using it himself.
I love his personal anecdotes. What fear did he face?
So he realized he wasn't getting enough cardio, which, is super important for your heart. And guess what finally got him to make running a priority? Yep, fear of a heart attack.
Wow, that's really interesting. So it's not about being fearless, it's more about changing how we think about fear, right? Instead of being paralyzed, we use that energy to our advantage.
Exactly. It's like harnessing the power of fear instead of letting it control us. And, often one of the best ways to change our mindset is through our bodies.
Oh, okay, so now we're moving from the brain to the body. Tell me more about this connection.
Have you ever noticed how much better you feel after a good workout, even if you were stressed or overwhelmed before?
1,000,000%. It's like magic. It's like whatever was stressing me out just melts away.
It's not magic. Well, it kind of is, but it's really science.
Yeah.
Huberman says different movements impact our energy in different ways. So you have your closed chain exercises. That's where your hands or feet were stationary, like squats or push-ups. Those can really boost your energy.
It's like you're giving your body the right kind of fuel to go from feeling drained to totally energized.
It's pretty amazing. And on the other side, you've got your open chain exercises. These are more about releasing energy, like when you throw a ball or do jumping jacks.
So if I'm feeling anxious or restless, maybe some jumping jacks would be better than trying to meditate.
Exactly. It's like hitting the reset button on your nervous system.
Speaking of reset buttons, Huberman's a big fan of breathing techniques, right?
Oh, absolutely. He talks about the physiological sigh, remember?
Yeah, that double inhale and long exhale.
That's the one. It's incredible how such a simple thing can really calm you down.
I actually tried that, and it really works. But I gotta be honest, when we start talking about things like yoga, Nidra, and hypnosis, that's where I get a little skeptical.
I hear you. It can sound a little out there.
Yeah. How do those actually work to improve sleep and focus?
Well, they might sound a little woo-woo, but there's actually some solid science behind them.
Really? Tell me more.
Basically, it's about calming down your nervous system and shifting your brainwave activity into a more relaxed state.
So kind of like having a glass of wine to unwind,
Yeah.
but without the downsides.
Exactly. And the cool thing is there are some great resources out there if you're interested in trying it out.
Like what?
Well, Huberman's colleague actually developed an app called Reverie that does guided hypnosis. They have sessions for sleep, pain, focus, all kinds of stuff.
I might have to check that out. Something I find really interesting about Huberman is how much he emphasizes structure, especially with technology.
Oh, yeah. Like setting boundaries, putting your phone away, creating those tech-free zones.
It seems counterintuitive, but it makes so much sense.
It really does. He says true freedom often comes from creating structure, not avoiding it.
It's about being intentional, right? Not letting distractions run the show.
Exactly. And that's where no-go training comes in.
Right. Tell us more about that.
Basically, you're training yourself to resist distractions.
So every time I don't look at my phone when it buzzes, that's no-go training.
You got it. It's like building a muscle. The more you practice, the stronger you get.
And it's not just for our phones, right? It could be anything that pulls us off track.
Exactly. That extra cookie when you're trying to eat healthy, or saying yes to another project when you're already swamped.
It's about knowing our limits.
And respecting them.
So important.
And it all comes back to self-awareness, understanding what triggers us, what our tendencies are.
Knowing ourselves so we can make better choices, right?
Exactly. It's about taking control instead of letting things control us.
It's like we're the CEO of our own minds and bodies.
I love that analogy. And speaking of powerful tools, Huberman talks a lot about journaling.
Journaling. That's something I've always struggled with. I know it's good for you, but
It can be tough to get started.
yeah, for sure.
But, Huberman makes a great point. Therapy can be amazing, but it's not always accessible for everyone.
That's so true.
Journaling is free, it's always there for you, and it can be just as powerful for self-reflection.
It's like having that conversation with yourself without any judgment.
Exactly. And the key, he says, is to be totally honest in your journal, even about the stuff that's hard to admit.
Because that's where the real growth happens, right? When we're willing to face those uncomfortable truths.
Exactly. It's like shining a light on those dark corners of our minds.
And once they're out in the open, they lose their power over us.
And it helps us avoid taking it out on other people, which is huge for healthy relationships.
It all comes back to self-awareness, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The more we understand ourselves, the better we can navigate all aspects of life.
Couldn't agree more.
It's a journey, for sure.
A lifelong one.
Good.
But journaling can be a really amazing companion along the way.
So true. So as we wrap up this deep dive into Huberman's world, what are some of the biggest things that stood out to you? For me, is this. We have so much more control over our minds than we realize.
Totally. It's easy to get overwhelmed by how complex our brains are, but Huberman reminds us that there are simple things we can do, like moving our bodies, breathing differently, even just changing our perspective.
Little tweaks can make a big difference.
Absolutely.
And it's not just about knowing this stuff, it's about actually using it, right?
Right, totally. Like, what are we going to do differently after this?
Right. So to everyone listening, what really clicked with you today? What's one thing you're going to try in your own life?
Maybe you're feeling stuck, so try switching up your workouts or giving that no-go training a shot.
And remember, even tiny changes can make a difference in how motivated you feel, how sharp your focus is, just your overall well-being.
It's all about taking that first step, even if it's a small one.
Exactly. This deep dive into Huberman's work has been incredible, and I got to say, I'm feeling pretty inspired to take control of my brain, really unlock my potential. What about you?
Me too.
Yeah.
And it's not about being perfect. It's a journey, not a destination.
Beautifully said. And on that note, we'll wrap up this episode of The Deep Dive. Thanks for joining us on this journey into the fascinating world of neuroscience.